We pegged the Bills as fraudulent a lot last season. And this year in the opener, kind of got off to a similar start against the Cardinals. But thanks to a late charge and some Josh Allen magic, could Buffalo get turned back around?
It's a new era in New England. Gerard Mayo and the New England Patriots take on Cincinnati and Joey Burrow. Question is Cincinnati up to the challenge?
The long-awaited debut of phenom Caleb Williams finally kicked off. Could Will Levis and the high-flying Titans dim the rookie's shine?
And Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons. Many peg them to be Super Bowl bound, but the Steelers could have a say in that in week 1.
It's the first Sunday of the NFL 2024 season. Sunday Scaries with Bucks McGee, catching you up on all the action.
We have waited so long, weeks and months, and it is finally here. Christmas Day has arrived. Week 1, Nutmeg. Here we are, sir. How you loving it?
Oh, Bucks McGee. And first of all, let me say, welcome back.
I know, a week away. It feels like I was gone for like a month. All this NFL stuff's going on, and boom, I'm back for week 1 just in time.
Yeah. So a lot of good things, a lot of bad things in this first Sunday, this inaugural Sunday of the 2024 season. It's still minty shiny. And I guess my biggest regret is I wish my Colts could be joining your Buccaneers in the winner's circle.
Well, you know what, you guys were in it to the end. I watched that game along with everything else that was on, and you guys you guys toughed it out. I give you guys credit. Your defense really showed out today.
Yeah, and AR also had a. I mean, he threw a pick, I know, but like that 60-yard bomb was as accurate as it was under supreme duress. So it was nice. It was nice to see that, and honestly, just nice to see Steichen letting him get some air under the ball.
Right? Because pretty much last year it was almost like dink and dunk, nothing really great. It was great to see, AR out there slinging it. It's a project right now. Hopefully he stays healthy. It's gonna be, a full year. But you guys, to hold the Texans, to stay with them like that, it's nothing but positive.
Yeah, no more running and just taking all the abuse. Speaking of abuse, Baker Mayfield definitely abused the Washington secondary a bit in this one.
Oh, only 4 touchdowns, like 280 something yards, QB rating of like 128 or something of that nature. First week looked good. I gotta say, was great in the pocket, able to scramble, eluded a lot of sacks. So it's a good start. Some things we still got to clean up. The run game actually showed up the second half of the game. So there's a lot to be excited about, but there's still a lot of stuff to clean up.
And considering the fact that we had so many disappointments and lackluster performances from the quarterback position, Baker is probably like a top 2 or 3 quarterback performer to start off the season.
At this point, unless my boy Aaron Rodgers lights it up, Monday night, Baker could be the guy. Definitely, he was confident, not any real bad throws, and he had great touch on the ball. So for us here, in Bucs land, it was a great win, 1-0. We'll take it.
Yeah, and that's right. I mean, we do have a lot of experienced and high flying quarterbacks left to play in these last 2 games. So we shouldn't count our chickens before they hatch. But so far, Baker's definitely near the top.
I'll take that week 1 week at a time.
So yeah. Oh, it's 1 week at a time this year. It's not 1 point better.
Oh, it's that too. It's that too. But right now, because we didn't have to worry about the 1 point, so it's okay. I can bounce back and forth.
Yeah, you're like 23 points better. So since we got our biases out of the way early, let's talk about the big storylines of this Sunday. And one is now you and I were the ones that were raising our eyebrows a bit at the Cincinnati Bengals with Chase missing all of preseason with the contract dispute, which obviously just resulted in nothing because he suited up and played anyway. And then, of course, Burrow coming off the injury last year missed the majority of the season. But everyone's still like, oh no, the Bengals will be back. They'll challenge the Ravens. They'll be right there. And in typical Bengals fashion, getting off to a slow start, but this one kind of feels a bit slower than usual.
This was horrible. It was a situation where they didn't click. I think they missed Joe Mixon. There's no doubt Joe Mixon. They should have did whatever they could to keep him. He was key to that offense, and they had a fumble on the goal line. It just these Bengals are. I hate to use the term, but these Bungles week one were just not sharp at all.
Yeah, and not. I mean, Zach Moss did have a fairly decent game statistically, but I mean, what were the biggest differences between seeing Zach Moss out there as the bell cow versus what they've had the last few years in Mixon?
I think Mixon's just a better pure runner. I think that's what it is. I think he just has that ability to hit the hole. He's tough. He can grind out the yards. I think Moss is more of just a receiving type back. I don't think he's a guy who you're going to give the ball 20, 25 times to and expect to produce. He's good for maybe 15 to 16, and maybe half of those are receiving. I think you really need somebody who can grind it out, and that's what Mixon was. And I think they missed that a lot today, and New England just keyed on that. New England, I think, just wanted it more. If you watched that game, New England just felt it was a gritty game, and New England just played hard and wanted it more. They played that New England type of defense, causing turnovers, just being in the right place at the right time. And I don't think since he was ready for it.
Yeah, and with that defense, they're almost like a Browns light from years past because the offense is nothing to write home about. Nothing. and but that defense, even last year in the midst of the I don't know what you call that last year, a rebuild or whatever it was, but the defense, even in the shadow of that, still didn't look the worst in most weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And and like you said, they wanted it in this one, and they probably felt a little disrespected. I mean, this is probably uh, you can't probably script a better type of debut for Gerard Mayo, especially for a team that Vegas hasn't pegged at 4.5 wins for the season. So this might be one of the few bright spots as the season goes along.
No, it's true. I think they're going to hang their hat on their defense. I think Gerard Mayo is a defensive type of coach, and that's what's going to happen. I think they're just biding their time until they pass the baton from Brissett to May. It's a matter of time. I don't think they're looking to get, if you can get 2 touchdowns out of this offense, I
Yeah,
think you're lucky. You're hoping that your defense can cause a fumble, a turnover, and then get some points off of turnovers that way. So I think this is the type of game that New England wants to be, wants the team they want to be until May comes in, and then maybe they open up the offense a bit. But hey, you take your wins when you get them, and hey, it is what it is.
it's funny from um, that perspective of as we kick back over to the Bengals. Um, what did you kind of think in terms of both Burrow and Chase in their respective situations? Like, did they look off? Did one look okay and the other was wholly disappointing? Were they both just pretty average but out of sync? Were they in sync but not 100%? Like, what do you think for both of them?
Well, they said that Chase had an illness, but he was still going to play. But everybody knows because he sat out so long, that's probably what it was. But if you want to use the illness tag, so be it. They were just out of sync. This offense as a whole was out of sync. It just felt like there was no fluidity whatsoever. Like you didn't know what was going to happen. It just felt off. And a big part of that is the fact that Chase didn't practice. This whole contract thing. And T. Higgins was out. He was out, so that I think hurt them as well. But I think the run game really, really hurt them. I think you really needed someone who you could hand the ball off to and really pound the ball, eat the clock. Again, Joe Mixon they should have kept him, but that's their choice, their decision. So they just seemed off, and hopefully this week they can kind of get things back together and get ready for next week. But it was definitely a timing issue, and they just seemed off. It seemed like it was almost like the first preseason game.
Likewise, do you think the artist formerly known as Cody Rhodes looked rough in his first game back from injury?
Oh yeah, Cody Burrow. Cody Burrow looked rough. He definitely did.
The Cincinnati Nightmare.
The Cincinnati Nightmare, exactly. And this is gonna be interesting because if they don't pick it up quick, they could end up falling behind in the standings. Let's be honest. It's one of those things where if one team in that division catches hot quick, the other teams are going to be hoping for a wild card spot. So you got to figure it out and get back on the ball. But yeah, he looked off. Like I said, the team as a whole just they weren't there. It was off. It was a bad showing.
Well, especially with the way Baltimore looked on Thursday. Yeah, they lost, but I mean, they kind of had a kind of bad luck couple plays. Things go a different way. They could have beat the Chiefs in that one.
Oh, exactly. Right now, if they had played Baltimore instead, Baltimore would have ate them up. Baltimore probably would have won by 2 touchdowns. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So there may not be too much of a gray area to make up ground for Cincinnati.
Nope, it's called figure it out and get ready for next week.
Yeah. Well, let's. I guess we'll keep it in the division because one of our favorite teams to kick around, of course, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The king of mediocrity himself, Mike Tomlin. Uh,
Bravo, bravo Steelers, bravo Steelers. I won't root for them much, but today I was looking for something yellow in the house to wave around. I didn't have it, but you know what? It was ugly, but you know what? That defense showed up.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like there should have been so much out of sorts for this team going against Atlanta. I mean, obviously all the pressure, all the hype is on Atlanta with Kirk coming to town and such. But Pittsburgh, they went into this with Russell Wilson supposed to be the starter, and then all of a sudden, the last few days, it's not Russ anymore. But they wouldn't commit to Fields either until this morning, basically Sunday morning, and so which is surprising to me because to me it should have been Fields' gig from the get go. Like I know you brought in Russ, but you brought him in on the cheap just because Denver's paying him all his contract. And Fields is a young guy. He's got a year left on his contract. You control. They turned it down for some I don't know what reason, and they didn't want to hand it to him. Like this, there should have been nothing good about their quarterback situation for this one.
No, I think they were hoping that this calf issue with Russ was going to kind of heal itself up and he would have been ready to go today. But once they realized it wasn't going to go that way, they had to say, okay, well, Justin's the guy. We're going to roll with him. And you know what? He wasn't horrible. Like the first half, yeah, it wasn't the best, but you know what? He really didn't make many mistakes. He kind of played within his strengths, and his legs are going to be key. His legs are definitely going to be key for him. And I think as the season goes on, sooner or later they're going to go to him full time. I really do. I don't know
like
what it.
Tomorrow.
It should exactly like they should have said, okay, he's the week 1 starter for sure, but fine. I think with Tomlin, we're hoping and praying that Russ has some magic left, and it's a resume thing, which I don't think really works. If he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. Just be realistic about it. But
no, I don't think so either.
No, you don't. But you got to give him credit. Fields did enough to win, and you would have thought that with all the hype with Atlanta, Super Bowl, contenders, blah, 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 that they should have won by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Kurt looked horrible. Threw 2 picks. This is the guy who you guys felt who walked in the building. Once he walked in the building, you felt was going to be the guy. Well, this is what you got. Hope you enjoy it.
That is the other side of it. So just how much of a disappointment was Kirk's performance here? Because this just seemed like Drake London was almost invisible in this. Mooney didn't even get a look. What's his face they got from the Cardinals? Rondale Moore. I don't think he got a look either. So like Pitts kind of got in a little bit, but more towards the end. So it's like you got this big arm quarterback to take advantage of it. I didn't hear anything about Deshaun Robinson
Well,
in the post game stuff, but did anything work on this team offensively, or was it just Kirk and that's such?
Moore's out. Moore's injured, so I don't know when he's come back. I don't know if it's season ending, but I know he's hurt. Kirk tried to get the ball to people, but I'm not gonna lie, that Steeler defense was great. They were constantly getting a push, but when he had time, it's just I don't know. It was bad, man, straight up bad. And when you try to force things, of course, you're going to throw picks. And the 2 picks he had shouldn't have even happened. He should have threw the ball away. Bijan did a little bit, but yeah, London was non-existent. They had penalties in the second half, lining up. They were just a mess. They were not good at all. And for a team that everybody was ready to hand the division to and ready to say, oh, they could go on a deep playoff run, I'll tell you, if Kurt has a couple more games like this, the calling for Penix is going to be loud and clear.
Well, that's the next point, because as much as obviously you're glimmering with satisfaction over a Falcons loss, do you take this with a grain of salt because the Steelers' defense was just so good, or do you think it's more indicative of some real issues in the Falcons' locker room and on the field?
I think it's a little bit of both. The Steelers' defense, I thought that one of the strengths of the Falcons was their offensive line. Like they had the guys on that offensive line are Pro Bowl quality, and Watt just ate them up. Watt was just a monster today, and Hayward, those guys were getting in. But you would think with Cousins, the anointed one, that he wouldn't have, because that's what everybody's done. They've anointed him and felt that he was the difference, that was going to turn them, because they were close to being a Super Bowl contender last year, right? All they needed was a quarterback. Well, you got your quarterback, and he threw 2 picks, looked lost in the pocket, just didn't deliver. But this is the guy who you feel is your difference. This is what he did in Minnesota. Tons of stats, but when it comes to crunch time, doesn't deliver. So I think it's a situation where you got to calm them down and really lean on Bijan. You got Bijan and Tyler Algier. He's great. He's a great running back. They went to him in pockets of the game. I don't know why they didn't stay with him. He's a bruiser. He can pound the ball. They got away from that. I think this team needs to run the ball more and then go play action. But it's just, I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking.
They really do have the parts to have a thunder and lightning type of backfield, like teams in 7-10 years ago made a living off of. They really do have that ability. I mean, when we think of Chris Johnson and Wendell White was his thunder, and of course Jacobs and Bradshaw with the Giants. It's obviously it's kind of a different NFL now, but it's proven to work in the past, and there's no reason why it can't work again. Especially if Kirk's not going to be the Kirk we expect him to be.
Well, that's what they think he is. They think he's the 4,000 yard tosser, 30 touchdowns. That's not who was behind center today. So they're gonna have to figure it out quick, or Raheem Morris is gonna be looking for a job real soon.
Yeah. I can't move on without asking about one of our favorite topics from last year on the Steelers, and that was the disappearing man of Najee Harris.
Najee was there today. Gotta give Najee credit, man. Najee played hard. We pounded on Najee last year like nobody's business, and I'll admit to that. But he showed up. He showed some grit, and he's playing for a contract because they didn't renew him. So whatever he does this year, unless they decide, okay, we're going to bring you back, some team's going to sign him.
So you think he's solidified as RB1 after this one and doesn't have to shake off Jaylen Warren anymore?
No, because Jaylen Warren messed up and missed a couple assignments. He ran the wrong way on one play. He went right. He was supposed to go left. So, it's week 1. Things do happen, but Najee ran with some fire, and I think that might endear him to Tomlin a little more.
Yeah. Because we know Tomlin is a fiery guy despite all the 500 records.
If it's the Steeler way, then Tomlin's all about it. So we'll see what happens. But I'll hand out the flowers. Najee was great today.
So those are the upsets and biggest disappointments of this opening week. So we'll go into some comebacks.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, as we noted, we also had a lot of fun busting on the Bills last season. And as this game started, we thought we were going to be right back into our old habits. But sure enough, the Cardinals are, I guess, still the Cardinals. Bills charge back. Allen gets the go ahead score. It, Cardinals get a defensive touchdown later on, but winds up being too little too late. So, what do you see here from Buffalo as far as things to work on? Because we know in the offseason, they had the fire sale. They really retooled a lot. Diggs is gone. So what do you kind of think as far as which Bills in this opening game was the real Bills?
I really don't know. I don't. I don't know. I'll give them credit the way they bounced back in the second half. They could have just folded. They really could have, but no, they fought back. It just shows that this team does have heart. I'll give them credit, and it looks like they're going to be a team that's going to want to play for each other and such like that. And they could be a team that come to the wire, could be in the mix. I don't know if they're going to win the division, but the way this division looked today, they very well could.
Hey, 3-0 so far.
You know,
Jets.
watch, they'll be the ones to lose.
And WFAN is going to be must listen radio on Monday.
Yep. When the Jets are 0-1 and New England's 1-0, I guess we're back to the way things used to be. So I give Buffalo credit. They played hard, and I think they're going to be a grinded out kind of team. And I think they're going to have some wins that we're going to be like, okay, they shouldn't have won that. And we're going to have some losses where it's like, you guys should have won. So I don't know what their identity is yet. Probably week 4 or so is when we're going to really know. But no, it all hangs on Josh Allen. Josh Allen is going to be the straw that stirs this drink. Arizona, I don't think anyone should have expectations. Like they've got talent, but it's I don't want to say hodgepodge. It's a hodgepodge of talent. They've got to figure it out. Like you finally have committed to, Murray. He's your guy, because don't forget, it sounded like at one point last year or so, he was gone. So yeah. Murray's going to be the guy. You got, Marvin Harrison Jr., Maserati Marv, as some people like to call him.
Didn't do a lot today.
Well, right now he's like he's going to be the offense. So of course they're going to key on him, but I think as the season goes on, I think they'll develop. They're going to be a team that's going to probably, cause some issues for other teams down during the season, but I don't have much in the way of expectation for them, but they're going to be a fun watch. So what we saw was what I think we're going to get from these two teams.
Do you think the Jekyll and Hyde nature of the Bills is it due to this kind of inconsistency of the sum of the parts, or as you noted, maybe it's something of a played a competition, like they drop some games against subpar competition because they're not right in the head or whatever, and then they just come to play against the Chiefs, the Ravens, teams like that, just because they got a fire lit under their backside.
It could be. I would hope not. I would hope this team is definitely a veteran-laden team. They're an older team for sure. I would hope that they wouldn't go in thinking, okay, we're Buffalo, so we're supposed to win, because that window is closed. That was a couple of years ago, like where you were Super Bowl bound. Like that window's closed. You don't have that team anymore. You guys are kind of in the middle, trying to figure it out. You could eke out 10, maybe 11 wins. So it's one of those things where they need to figure out what their identity is, and go from there. I don't think they're a really ground and pound type team. For the pieces that they have, they're a passing team. So they've got to go ahead and live to the strengths and hope that their defense can hold up and keep teams under 25 points. I think they're going to be a team that's going to put up points, but are also going to give up points.
Yeah. Now the other comeback was, of course, the debut of one Mr. Caleb Williams, and can't say he was exactly impressive in this one. The defense kind of bailed them out for the go-ahead score, but a win is the win, I guess, nonetheless. And maybe there's some more issues in Tennessee than I mean, granted, not that any of us, either of us, were high on Tennessee, but what's kind of the story here? The Bears feel good despite Caleb not looking great, or do the Titans kind of feel like, oh boy, we had this great lead and we just gave it all away?
That's exactly what it was. They gave the lead away, especially that one throw where Levitt's just, I don't he was spinning out of a sack or whatever it was, and he just chucks the ball, hands it off basically to a Bear, and then they return it, and then there you go. Basically, the game is over at that point.
Mm-hmm.
No, the Titans gave that game away. And it was Levitt's not being smart. That's what it was. His mistakes led them to this loss. So it's first week, it's a rookie quarterback. Yeah, you shouldn't have. I think people were overly hyped and expected him to go, 27 for 35 for like 280 yards, 5 touchdowns. He was going to be this offensive juggernaut. It's your first game. I think he threw for like 150 or so. I think of that. So yeah. This team, I think,
sacked twice, no picks.
No mistakes. So that's a good thing. But I think early in the season, they're gonna have to hang their hat on their defense and let him come along, because then you're gonna really find out what this offense is. But no, Tennessee gave this game away. They shouldn't have lost it. Shouldn't have.
Was it a concern to you that Caleb was struggling to find a security blanket? Whether it's Komet, whether it's Allen. I mean, we understand more to Dunze are kind of more downfield targets, but a rookie quarterback is supposed to, be able to throw to the underneath guys to get used to kind of get used to the flow of a game. And he supposedly got, an up and coming tight end and an experienced kind of slot receiver. So is there any kind of concern that he wasn't able to find a security blanket?
That's what happens when you don't play your guy in the preseason.
This is true.
If let him get in the flow, let him continue to find that guy who he feels comfortable with. I don't know if he just, in the game, he just looked like he couldn't find anybody or find that blanket. Or run the hell out of the ball, bootleg, whatever, like 5-yard passes, like figure it out. But this game plan is not going to get them to the playoffs like everybody wants to. They're another team that everyone wants to hand the playoffs to. He's the missing piece. Like, he's NFL ready. He's not. He's still a rookie. He still has got to figure some things out. So it's going to take time for him to get into that rhythm, to find that one guy who he's comfortable with. But like I said, that defense is going to have to carry him.
And mind you, the best they can hope for is a wild card anyway, because they're nowhere near the status of the Lions.
Exactly, but the media makes it sound like they're playoff ready, like they're the Falcons, ready for the Super Bowl.
So there's a couple other little interesting games to get to before we start talking the Sunday nighter, and that is of course the Dolphins. They this was the one I had I don't know if I could call it the privilege of watching the majority of it, but I suppose we'll go with that. This team, now they won. All right, I'll tip my cap to you. Tip my cap to you. Wins a win, but they looked horrible for half of this game. Absolutely horrible. Like, their defense was like Trevor Lawrence was doing whatever he wanted to that defense, and ETN was getting going early, kind of disappeared as the game went along. I guess kind of so did Trevor Lawrence. But the Dolphins, it really took them a while to get going here. And Tyreek, I mean, granted, he had this little situation on Sunday morning. So maybe that's why he got off to a slow start. But eventually did get going. Achan scored, didn't have a ton of yards, but he amassed something decent and wound up getting into the end zone at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and they got in. Sanders obviously had some dust to shake off his leg. He had that awful missed field goal. It's probably the worst missed field goal I've not well maybe not ever seen, but certainly seen in any time of recent memory. So I mean, maybe we look at this the same way we look at the Bills. Like, which is the real Dolphins? This team that struggled to get going, or was it just a byproduct of Tyreek's unusual morning and lack of continuity in the offense, and they eventually got going, or is the real Dolphins team the explosive one we saw in the second half?
I honestly think the team in the second half is the Miami Dolphins team, the explosive one. Week one is week ones are kind of tough because with certain teams you have this expectation of what they're supposed to be, and then when they aren't that team or they don't follow that history of what we think they're supposed to be, it's there's something wrong. Um, I just think they met a good opponent. Jacksonville's a solid team. I think they've got some history. Let's be honest, they've butted heads quite often in the last couple of years. So these teams knew going in who they were facing and what needs to be done. Everyone knows that Miami is the high-powered offense. It's the Tyreek show and everything else. But I also think, Tua got his contract and everything, but what is Tua? I think is still kind of not a mystery, but it's like, what is Tua at the end of the day? Is he the guy who's going to sit in the pocket and throw the ball all over the field, or is he going to check it down? I think he's still trying to find himself as well. So I think that for Miami, it's the team in the second half, a little more explosive. I think going forward, they're going to find their footing, and they'll be that team that closely look like the team from last year. Jacksonville, this is the Jacksonville that was the end of last year. Just couldn't seal the deal.
Yeah, is that now? I guess that's the other side of it. Is this kind of same old with of recent memory with the Jags, where they fall on their face and get off to a hot start, but they're so, I guess, inconsistent, for lack of a better word, or immature, or whatever the case may be, that they cannot finish. They cannot finish off what they should be able to achieve.
Here's the deal: if they don't turn it around, it's week one. Like, it's way too soon to be calling for people's jobs and things like that. But if it's week 6, week 7, and this is the up and down kind of Jags that we get, then I honestly think there needs to be a new voice in that locker room, and I think it's time for Peterson to move on. Like, he was brought in to clean up that Urban Meyer mess, because it was just an absolute show there in Jacksonville. He came in, cleaned it up, straightened out the ship. Now, unless he can get them to, like, they need to hit like the conference championship. Like, they really need to. They can't be like the Cowboys, one and done, and everyone be happy with it. With the talent that they have on that team, they should be, conference championship, yearly contending. They've got the talent. If they stumble and can't make it out of the first round or even not make the playoffs, and this is the product that we have, I think it's time for a new voice.
How far Doug Peterson has fallen.
I just think he's the kind of coach that you bring in to start, to rebuild a franchise, to get it all right. I don't know if he is the guy who's going to be able to finish it for you. If they don't get it right this year, then there's questions have to be asked.
I got one more question on the Dolphins, but shout out Craft Beer Reviews. Thanks for hopping on. And the Broncos are in our show tonight, but that's a good little.
Believe. Gotta give Bo his props, man. Bo's legit. Bo is definitely legit.
Yeah, honestly, they probably should have won that. They probably should have won this game. I mean, took Geno a while to get going. Seattle pulled it out, but
but it gives
they probably shouldn't have.
For what they had last year to this year, there's got to be nothing but positivity in Denver. Got to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and as far as Seattle, it's only a matter of time for slinging Sam's under center. But I wanted to bring up something you brought up with Tua. Now, for all the credit that Mike McDaniel's gotten, as far as entrusting him and putting him in a position to succeed. Is there something where maybe he has too much freedom? To your point, is he going to check it down? Is he going to go deep? Is maybe the head coach quarterback relationship here is maybe too loosey goosey, and that's why we kind of saw this tale of two dolphins in this one.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't think you can answer that question till the end of this year. Like if they don't make the playoffs, then I guess you can start to sit there and say, all right, Mike, what's going on there? It's at this point we really, it's been a couple years. We should be, knocking on that conference championship door. We should be Super Bowl bound. We've got the talent. What's going on? Or it's a situation where it's like Tua's not the guy, and Tua's a glorified game manager, and you overpaid for him, a la Daniel Jones, and this is what you've got. This is what you've got, and now you got to deal with it. So I think what it is I don't think it's the game manager. I think Tua does have talent. I think he can carry this team, but he can't be the guy. He has to be a piece of the machine. You can't really count on him to be the guy. And I think that just means that they're, you got to make sure that their defense is, stepping up when needed. It's got to be a total group thing. I don't know if Tua can carry the torch himself. But if it seems that, they barely make the playoffs this year and they're one and done, then maybe, management needs to kind of sit there and say, hey, what do we got going on here? But, it's week one, so we got to give a pass somewhat.
Bucks McGee, there is not a single Dolphins fan in the world that wants to hear Tua compared to Daniel Jones.
Oh, Daniel Jones.
We won't bring up the Giants this week because
yeah, made Sam Darnold look like a Pro Bowler. Congratulations. Go Giants.
However, speaking of the NFC East, what kind of football show would we be if we didn't bring up the Dallas Cowboys? And Jerry, I don't know why. If you were just going to give Dak this money anyway, why didn't you just do it in July? You had to wait till Sunday morning of the first game of the season to say, sure, you can be the highest paid quarterback in the league.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. But it's the question everybody asks at this point. Jerry needs to give up the GM role. Like it's ridiculous at this point. It's become a joke, and this team at this point, yeah, honestly, I don't think they're any. He thinks that they're better than they were last year. I don't know where you get that from. I don't know how they're better than they were last year, but okay, Jerry. This team, again, will probably win 11, 12 games and be bounced in the first round. And then at that point, they got to figure it out. They finally paid their stars, didn't upgrade anywhere else. Now you got Micah. You got to pay Parsons his money. Mm-hmm. So then you're going to have three guys who are going to eat up basically all of your cap, and then you're going to have nothing. So I hope Micah can play both sides of the ball, and you'll go from there.
Well, he might need to play tight end if Jake Ferguson misses a significant amount of time, as he had a little injury towards the end of this game that maybe the starter shouldn't even be playing at some point.
CD will play cornerback, and they'll just have Dak running around doing whatever. But yeah, fine. They stomped the Browns. This game proved that Deshaun Watson was not worth the bounty that they gave up. He is not worth it. He was horrible. He was just horrible. He's not good. He's not Houston Deshaun or whatever. So they're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to hang their hat on their defense and hope that he can put up 20 to 25 points a game at best. They're horrible offensively.
He probably just needs those massage parlor girls to get him motivated, I guess.
Yeah, motivated. Yeah. He didn't have to do anything. He could just sit there. All that money was guaranteed. He literally could just be like, yeah, okay, I'll win 2 games a year. I'm good. Like, let's be real. Like, again, the Browns have screwed up their quarterback position. Just put his name on that jersey with all the names on it because you've done absolutely nothing. You guys are wishing you had Baker Mayfield, don't you?
Ah, there it is. There it is. You did bring up a point a moment ago that we were having an off air conversation about during the game. Whereas you look at this game and you think like, okay, what's the deal here? Like Dallas with, like you said, no improvements in the offseason. The only thing they had to do was try to sign all their players to long-term contracts, and yeah, I guess yeah they did that, but that's all they did. They didn't do anything else. And then Cleveland just looks like an utter mess. And it was like, okay, like is this like a chicken or the egg situation? Is Dallas really this good, or is just Cleveland this much of a disaster? Like what's kind of the truth in this particular game?
Cleveland's that bad. Offensively, I don't know what happened defensively. I thought they were still one of the elite defenses in the league. They probably were just they got tired. If you think about it, if your offense can't put up points, your defense is on the field pretty much most of the time. I don't care what defense you are, you're going to give up points, and that's what this was like. Unless Myles Garrett can play quarterback for you, like this is what it is, and they've got to hope that Watson can be adequate because if this is how they're going to play, they're not making the playoffs.
And that's
I don't want to hear anything about the playoffs in Cleveland.
playoffs.
Exactly.
And that's a such a poor defensive performance with pretty much keeping CeeDee Lamb in check. Like CeeDee Lamb did not go off in this, and you would have thought he would have coming off of that contract, but they held him down. They just let everyone else run ramshot.
Yeah, exactly. You allowed what was it? A kickoff for a touchdown, and everybody else looked. Brandon Cooks scored. Now, mind you, I like Brandon Cooks. I think he's a quality receiver. I love his whole thing when he scores. He does the Archer thing. Like I love that. Like I think he's good. I think he's a quality receiver. But you just let him run free willy-nilly down the field. He's scoring touchdowns. Everybody else who's whatever, second tier guy is scoring touchdowns. But you guys scrape to put it. Jerry Jeudy finally scored. I hadn't heard his name in forever. All of a sudden he scored.
The ninja.
The ninja. He scores, and you would have thought Cleveland won the Super Bowl. They were all like, yeah. I'm like, whatever. You guys signed him. Yeah. You guys are probably regretting that too. It's Cleveland's a mess, man. And I think this season is not good, and it's just going to solidify this horrible contract with Deshaun Watson. It's horrible.
Speaking of end zone celebrations, I have to bring this up. We'll bring it back to your game, the Buccaneers game today, the game on Sunday. And I caught the highlight of Jaden Daniels scores touchdown. Now, you know what? You're a rookie. You score your first touchdown. Clap it up. Not going to take anything away from you. But at this point, you're still down 9. The Bucs went right back down the field and scored. So you're down 16. Like, you're down 2 possessions. Whether or not it's your first touchdown or not, don't dance in the end zone. Be an adult. Like realize what the game situation is. Like, okay, hand the ball to the ref, get it after, put it in your locker, have the team sign it, whatever you want to do to celebrate. But in that moment, I'm sorry. No, not appropriate.
All right, mister, get off my lawn. No, I get it because I was like, I laughed. I was like, yeah, okay, well, you're still down 9, so enjoy that dance party. But but I get it. It's just it's the league. It's the new thing. You score. You're like, all right, yeah, get my groove on, get my brand on. Here I am. I'm dancing, and then yeah, you. And if you look at his, because we go back to this game, if you look at his stats, he didn't really throw the ball much, and he very much ran. That's all he did was run. And that's where he put his money on. He needs to learn how to slide, and he needs to learn to put his helmet on right because his helmet fell off twice. And Daryl Johnston talked about that. Like if this guy's helmet can't stay on, A, it's a safety issue. B, rules are if your helmet comes off, the play is dead. And if you're like trying to score a touchdown in the last seconds and you run it in and your helmet comes off before you hit the line, You're losing. So I think he's going to learn. He's a young guy. He'll figure it out. But yeah, for me, I'm kind of like, if I'm losing, it's like, I might, do a little, do my little handshake real quick, and then I'm back because I'm losing. I'm not going to sit there and shake my hips and whatever for like 30 seconds. Like I'm not doing this because I'm getting whooped, but it's the youngins. This is what they do, man. That's what they do.
The youngest. All right, so uh, we'll get into this game that's getting underway right now. The Rams and the Lions, and there's a little bit of uh, I don't know if thunder taken out of the bag because this was supposed to be Matt Stafford's homecoming. And of course, they played in the postseason last season or like
Mhm.
this year, a mere 10 months ago. No, not even actually, like 8 months ago.
No.
So you have this one kicks off, and the Lions obviously they should have been in the Super Bowl last season. Other with save for Motor City Dan Campbell's kind of bonehead plays and over aggressive actions at the end of the championship game.
Mhm.
So, what is to you? What is acceptable in this game for Detroit to win by? Like, do they have to absolutely come into this one, dominate the Rams, throw Stafford around like a rag doll, and solidify like, hey, F the Niners, we are the top dog here in this conference? Sorry, I got a little fired up.
No,
Taking you
really?
by surprise.
So, are you telling me you don't like Dan Campbell's Applebee's commercials?
Oh, yeah, no, those are good.
Oh yeah, see, the guy's got some acting. He's got some acting chops. So if this
Yeah.
this head coaching thing doesn't work out, he's gonna be, doing like Law and Order or something. Um, no, I don't think they've got to, beat the hell out of the Rams or anything. I think if it's a close game and they pull it out, I think that shows okay, they've learned, they can win the close ones. But like you said, it comes down to the play calling. Like, don't go, it's 4th and 8. You don't need to go for it in the first quarter, 4th and 8. You don't have to show people who you are and stuff like that. Because now, the main thing that the Lions have to understand now is that they're the hunted. They're not the hunters anymore. And the whole feel-good story of, Detroit's been a horrible franchise for years, and wow, we finally won the playoffs, and rah rah, like that's over. That's all last year.
Yeah.
You are supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. You are supposed to be one of probably the 2 or 3 teams out of the NFC that's supposed to go to the Super Bowl. So you need to understand what you need to do and get it done. So, and that starts with the coaching staff. Don't go on 4th and 8 and all these other stupid calls. Play smart. It's a 17 game season. You don't have to, you're not winning the division in one play. So I think they have to understand that, if we got to win ugly, then we win ugly, but those are the games you're supposed to win. And you have talent on both sides of the ball. There's no reason why you can't win those games.
Let's talk about that talent. We'll talk offense first since that's the easier one. Is there anything this offense has to prove? They've got 2 great running backs, one veteran, one young guy, second year back, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Who, I mean, some people probably argue just unleash him and let him be the true RB1. Amon-Ra St. Brown is an animal. Um, Sam Laporta came onto the scene as a rookie. He's a beast. Goff, if people always make fun of Goff as the game manager quarterback from his Rams days, and he looks like legitimate Pro Bowl All Pro type of quarterback in this offense. Is there anything this offense has to prove uh, in addition to what they've already done?
No, they don't have to prove anything. They've shown they can put up points. They've shown that they can be a dominant offense. They don't have to prove anything. They just have to be consistent. That's all it is. I don't think they have to prove anything. Like you said, I think, it would be great if they had a true number 1 with the running back position. But I also think that for the offense that they run, that it works. I think both guys do get enough touches so they can make an impact, but it's one of those things where they may have to say at some point, depending on how each game goes, maybe one guy is just hotter than the other. because both these guys are receiving backs as well. They're not just, a runner. That's the thing. A lot of both these guys kind of make their money both ways. They're not, put their head down and bang for 25 carries and, get you 110 yards, or bruisers. They get a lot of their yards out of the backfield passing and such like that. So I think you kind of this offense works for both of them, and you continue that. So I don't think you mess with the offense. You keep it as it is. They can score points. You just don't get pretty on third and fourth down.
Yeah. And as far as the defense is concerned, I mean, it really is as simple as the secondary, all the additions they made to the draft and whatnot, because their defensive front elite, their linebackers very active, a lot of young guys in that core, and then the defensive backfield was the one that was the question mark last season. So is it as simple as that to you, or what's the key with the defense?
Oh no, it's the secondary for sure. They ended up, trading for Carlton Davis from Tampa. They got, Terod Arnold, in the draft. Like that secondary, they've improved. So it's just now they've got to perform. That's what it comes down to. This team is as complete a team as there is in the league. There's no doubt about it. The secondary was their issue, and they've done enough, I think, to fix those problems. Now they just have to prove it.
Are they the team to beat, or is it still the Niners? In the NFC, obviously. In the NFC, obviously.
Until they beat the Niners, you have to give the Niners their due. But they have closed the gap. The Niners are in a tough spot with the way things have gone this year. And the Niners if the Niners don't win it this year, I don't think they're winning it. I think their window closes, especially with the Ayuk situation. Debo will probably be gone next year. This team will change. They've got to pay Purdy. There's a lot that's going to go on in the offseason. But they're built to win now. So if they meet in the playoffs, the Niners have to win now. So the Lions, to prove that they are the elite of the elite, have to beat the Niners.
And real quick before we say goodnight for the live, with the Rams, we didn't see much of anything from the Rams in the preseason. The Stafford never played for obvious reasons. So what's a realistic expectation for the Rams? Not just tonight, but in the season overall, because this is a team that surprised everyone making a wild card. And is this going to be a team that maybe McVay should have gotten out when getting was good?
They've got an offense. There's no doubt their offense is on par with, probably in the NFC, it's probably the top 5 offense. There's no doubt. It's the defense. You've moved on from Aaron Donald. He retired. So now you got to find out what your defense is going to be. Are you going to put up 35 points and give up 38 points? Like, that's the thing. Like, I think their defense can be solid. I think they've got pieces in place, but their defense is really going to have to show out and be a defense, that can hold some of these higher end teams, below average. It's just what it's going to be. They'll score points, but can they stop points?
Well, Bucks McGee, there was a lot to see in week 1, this opening Sunday of the 2024 season. Some good, some bad, some exciting, some question marks for sure. Sir, take us off air with your final thoughts from week 1 Sunday.
Week 1, oh man, it was good. It was tasty. For you Falcons fans, enjoy what you got. Buffalo, you guys have moved on, and I give you guys credit. You guys are gonna be a gritty team, impressive. Cowboys, don't know what you guys are gonna be. We didn't talk about the Giants. God bless you. But it's week 1. If your team hasn't played yet, finishing off tonight and tomorrow, enjoy it, and we'll see what happens week 2.